Hello, welcome back to Shakil's physics classes. Previous class, we have stopped at seeing a few applications of Gauss's law. We determined electric field intensity due to a charged sphere at a point outside and inside. Then we have seen electric field intensity at a point inside and outside a solid cylinder. Today, we are going to see how to derive expression for electric field at a point inside and outside a hollow charged cylinder. So our topic for today is field due to a hollow cylinder. Let us first draw the diagram of a cylinder, hollow cylinder. Let us consider this to be a hollow cylinder. Let us consider this to be a hollow cylinder whose radius, let me take it as A, and let this be the axis of the cylinder. Okay? And let us take the radius of this cylinder to be A, the surface charge density of this hollow cylinder be sigma. When I say surface charge density sigma, it means sigma is charge upon area. Charge per unit area is surface charge density sigma. Now, let us say at a distance r from the axis of this hollow cylinder, you are given a point P where you want to find out what is the value of electric field intensity. Then immediately what I will do is I will draw a Gaussian surface, imaginary cylinder, which I also call it as Gaussian surface, such that it passes through the point P where I want to find out electric field intensity. This is the Gaussian surface which is coaxial with this hollow cylinder, and let the length of this cylinder, Gaussian surface enclosing the hollow cylinder be L. Is that okay to you? Let me repeat once again. This is a hollow cylinder of radius A, surface charge density sigma. We have been given a point P outside this hollow cylinder where we want to find out electric field intensity. Sigma is the surface charge density, which is charge per unit length. Now, in order to determine electric field intensity due to this hollow cylinder at a point outside, I need to take a small surface in the Gaussian surface. Okay? A small area I have taken. Let the area of the surface be ds. As I told you already, you need to construct a unit vector, and because this is positively charged, electric field intensity will be pointing upwards. Then electric field intensity, I will put an E vector. Then I will write flux through the small surface of area ds. As we all know, we will write d phi E is equal to E vector dot n unit vector into ds. There is no doubt about this. Okay. Therefore, we need to find out what is the flux through the entire curved surface of the cylinder. Flux through the curved surface of the cylinder. So I will write this as phi E is equal to, I need to integrate this expression. Integral over the surface S E vector dot n cap ds. This will give me E ds integral over the surface E ds cos theta. Theta is the angle subtended between electric field and the unit vector. Both are in the same direction, parallel to each other. Theta is 0, cos 0 is 1. Therefore, will give me E ds must give me the curved surface of this cylinder. The circumference is 2 pi r into L. Therefore, phi E is equal to 2 pi RL is what we get if we integrate this expression. Is that okay to you, sir? Now, we have taken account of the curved surface. We have not yet taken account of the caps of the cylinder. If you take the caps anywhere here and you take a small surface, as we all know, we need to draw unit vector normal to the surface. Electric field will be pointing perpendicular to the unit vector. Therefore, I will write this will be whatever I have said here will be true here as well. Therefore, the caps of the cylinder do not contribute to flux. Since E and n unit vector are perpendicular to each other, since E and n unit vector are perpendicular to each other, they do not contribute to electric flux. Therefore, the total flux won't be this much. This will be the total flux. Therefore, from Gauss's law, one can write phi E is equal to Q by epsilon naught. This we know. But here in our case, we do not know what is the charge. It's not being given directly. Instead, what we have said here is the surface charge density is sigma. Therefore, if surface charge density is sigma, then this will be Q by the surface area of this cylinder, because charge is resting only on the outer surface of this hollow cylinder. Therefore, what will be the surface area? It will be 2 pi A into L. Is that okay to you? Therefore, Q for me will be 2 pi A L sigma. Therefore, I will write this as equal to 2 pi A L sigma upon epsilon naught. This will be equation 2 for me. Now, if you look at 1 and 2, 1 is giving an expression for phi E. Expression 2 is also giving for phi E. Equate. So, equating 1 and 2 from 1 and 2, I write E 2 pi RL is equal to 2 pi A L sigma upon epsilon naught. 2 pi, we can strike it off. L can be struck off to give me E into R is equal to A sigma upon or epsilon naught. Or where is this here? Very small. This will be E. Okay? E. E is equal to A sigma upon R or epsilon naught. You will write it this way. This will be epsilon naught. This is the expression for electric field intensity at a point outside the hollow cylinder. Now, we can try to modify this expression. We will find out what is the charge per unit length. The charge per unit length. If I write charge per unit length, the total charge has to be divided by its length. Therefore, 2 pi AL sigma upon L. Is that okay to you? If I divide by that, this L will go off. Is that okay to you? This will be charge per unit length is lambda. Therefore, I will write this as A sigma is equal to lambda by 2 pi. Is that okay to you? This value of A sigma, if I substitute here, I will end up with an expression. Where shall I have the? I will have this off. Okay. If I now substitute A sigma is equal to lambda by 2 here in this place, if I substitute this value, I will end up with E is equal to lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught r. Now you must remember what you have studied in class 12. In class 12, you would have studied what is the electric field due to a line charge. You would have been given a wire completely positively charged, and you would have been asked to find out what is the electric field intensity at a point due to this line charge. This is the expression you would have derived. If you have books with you, you can see what will be the expression there. Now, this is the expression we derived for magnetic electric field intensity at a point outside a hollow cylinder. I found out what is the charge per unit length. Charge per unit length is denoted by the letter lambda. Therefore, A sigma is lambda by 2 pi. In the place of A sigma, if I substitute this lambda by 2 pi, I end up with this equation which resembles exactly the same expression which we have already studied in class 12 for magnetic field, electric field intensity due to a line charge. Is that okay to you, sir? This is the last of the applications given in our syllabus. For those who have not followed it, I am putting it once again. I am considering a hollow cylinder of radius A whose surface charge density is sigma at a distance r from the axis of the cylinder at a point P. I am asked to find out what is the value of electric field intensity. In order to determine electric field intensity at P, I am constructing an imaginary surface called Gaussian surface. This is the Gaussian surface I have constructed. It is coaxial with the cylinder and its length is L. In that Gaussian surface, I have taken a small surface of area ds. First, construct a unit vector. A unit vector must always be normal to the surface. Since it is positively charged, electric field will be pointing upwards. Therefore, flux through the small surface of area ds, d phi, E vector dot n cap ds. This we are familiar from our previous class. Flux through the curved surface of the cylinder. You integrate this expression. You end up here. You have to take into account how much of contribution is there for flux from the caps. Now if you draw a unit vector and electric field vector, you find they are perpendicular to each other. Theta being 90, cos 90 is 0. Therefore, we conclude the caps of the cylinder do not contribute to electric flux. Hence, equation 1 must give us the total flux of this particular such a problem. is the surface area, 2 pi a is the circumference. If you multiply by L, that will give you surface area into sigma. This will give you charge upon sigma, epsilon naught. Equate, you end up with an expression E is equal to A sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. We can further modify an expression by writing the charge per unit length. Charge per unit length is total charge must be divided by length. Therefore, that is denoted by lambda. Therefore, from this I end up A sigma is equal to lambda by 2 pi. This value of A sigma, if I substitute here, I end up with an expression E is equal to lambda by 2 pi epsilon naught r, which is exactly the same expression which we have derived for a line charge. A line charge is a wire completely positively charged. It will be identified as it will be by a charge per unit length lambda. 2 pi epsilon naught constants. R is the distance, the point P, where you have to find out electric field intensity. Is that okay to you, sir? If this is okay to you, we move on to the last topic of this particular unit, which is Poisson's and Laplace's equations. So let me run this off to go into the next topic for discussion, which is Poisson's and Laplace's equation. Poisson's and Laplace's equation. The Poisson's and the Laplace's equation, they come to us from two basic equations which we have already studied. The two equations we have studied is, one, we are familiar with Gauss's law. The Gauss's law in differential form, del vector dot E vector is equal to rho by epsilon naught. This we are familiar. This is the differential form of Gauss's law. And the next one is the relation between electric field and potential, negative gradient of potential. The relation between E vector and potential. What is that? E vector is equal to negative gradient of potential. These are the two equations which we are going to combine to arrive at the Poisson's equation and the Laplace's equation. What are we going to do? We are going to substitute the value of E from the negative gradient of potential, the relation between E and V, in equation 1, which is the Gauss's law. Let us see what happens. Substituting for E in equation 1, we get del of dot del V is equal to, a minus sign is there, I put a minus sign here, rho by epsilon naught. Therefore this becomes del squared V is equal to minus rho by epsilon naught. Is that clear to you? Del squared V is equal to minus rho by epsilon naught. And this equation is precisely Poisson's equation. This equation is precisely Poisson's equation, which helps us to find out potential. Rho is volume charge density. If you are taking a surface where there is no charge at all, then rub this off to tell you what it is. If there is no charge, then rho becomes equal to 0. If rho becomes equal to 0, then we get del squared V is equal to 0. This is Laplace's equation. This is Laplace's equation.